The Rooster, by Arnie Hudgins. I grew up in a small community on Virginia's Eastern Shore in 1949, and I must say it was the best place in the world to be a kid. Everybody knew everyone, and we attended the same school for 12 years. There was a barber in our community, and I'll call him Mr. B, short for Mr. Bigger Than Life. You could say he was the town gossip, and on top of that he was our neighbor. Every morning for a month or so when I came down for breakfast, there would be the same old discussion while I was trying to scoff down my pep cereal. I wish someone would shoot that old rooster. My granny, who just happened to be visiting, would chime in, "Catherine, you're 100% right. That old bird wakes me up every morning, rain or shine, and it's driving me up a wall." As I said, we lived in a small waterfront community, and our neighbor had a brown, red rooster who was meaner than a junkyard dog. And this bird would cock-a-doodle-doo every morning around 5 o'clock. Mom would complain to Mrs. B, and Mrs. B would laugh, and it became the town joke. This morning I was tired of hearing my mom and my granny complaining over that old rooster. I looked out the window, and there he was, just strutting like he owned the world. As Dr. R.G. Lee said many years ago, there will be a payday someday, because payday always comes. I'm thinking, that's right, and tomorrow morning will be Mr. B's brown, red rooster's payday. I went over to my friend Frank's house and told him my predicament and asked if I could borrow his bullet rifle and a couple of bullets. He said sure, because that old bird was disturbing them too. Okay. I got the gun. Now I've got to get up in my bedroom without anyone seeing me. Mission accomplished. Now all I have to do is wait for tomorrow to arrive. After being awake for most of the night in anticipation for sunrise, it was now 5 a.m. and as usual that old rooster started crowing. I grabbed the gun and laid down on my bed and took a bead on Old Red and POW as the bullet passed through the screen and across the barnyard, and then the impact. A direct hit. Bull's eye. 1. This was the shot that was heard throughout the community of the quaint town of Cape Charles, Virginia. All of a sudden I heard the sound of buffalo coming up the stairs, and before I could put the rifle under the bed, here's Mom and Granny hollering, "Arnold Wade!" I knew right then I was in deep trouble. Truthfully, I thought they would be excited, and they were, but not the way I expected. Mom was hysterical. "You shot Mr. B's rooster. What were you thinking? Boy, you're in big trouble. Just wait till your dad gets home." Out they went stomping down the stairs, and there I sat thinking, what did I do that was so bad? I thought I had done them a favor, and now I'm in for it, but it was a good shot right through the head. Truthfully, I felt like John Wayne in the movie, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. But for me, it was only the beginning of a bad day at Black Rock. Oh, have I got troubles? Our neighbor, good old Mr. B, was out in his backyard screaming, "Arnold Wade, did you shoot my $% and asterisk at $% rooster? You'd ho, here he comes, and he's bringing that old chicken by the neck with blood running down his arm. Arnold Wade, get yourself down here right now." I thought, I've had it. I might as well confess that I'm the chicken killer. I walked in the kitchen, and all eyes were upon me. Then I received the peace that passes all understanding, and I said, "Mr. B, I shot your rooster, and I'm not sorry." Well, that was the wrong thing to say, because off he went again. Mr. B informed us he was going to the police and said, "You're going to pay for this." He was upset to say the least, and here was a 50-year-old man hollering and threatening a 12-year-old child. After a couple of hours, things began to calm down, and my father had come home. Dad had just one question to ask. "Son, why did you do it?" My answer was short and sweet. I thought Mom wanted me to, because every morning Mom and Granny would complain about that old chicken, so I took it upon myself to do something about it. Dad just looked at me with a silly grin and said, "Son, I think you're in a heap of trouble. I think you had better go to your room for a while." The funny thing was, I was upstairs, I could hear Dad just laughing, and I even heard a giggle or two from Mom and Granny. I knew right then that everything was going to be alright, but this is not the end of the story. Meanwhile, it wasn't long before we had company. It was the Cape Charles Chief of Police. In any small town, when the police knock on your door, everyone knows you've had a visitor. Here's Dad welcoming the chief in, and of course I had to tell the story again for the 4th or 5th time, and he chuckles. He looks at me and says, "Son, I think everything will be alright and stay away from Mr. B." Well, the officer left and went to speak with Mr. B, and he wasn't happy, and Mr. B decided to get a warrant for my arrest. Remember, now I'm only 12 years old, and I'm thinking if this had happened today I would have been on CNN News, and on the cover of Time magazine with the inscription, "12-year-old chicken killer." But wait, we're coming to the good part. I had become a celebrity in the town of Cape Charles. All 2,500 knew who I was, the town's chicken killer. The good citizens of Cape Charles would buy me sodas and ice cream cones and pat me on the back like I was some hero, and Mr. B, he was on the other end of the stick. He was laughed at, made fun of, and he became the joke of the town, and being the town barber didn't help either. The main thing I remembered out of the whole mess was Mom saying, "I wish someone would shoot that old rooster." Well, it's finally over. I didn't have to go to court. It so happened that Mr. B had broken a town ordinance by having farm animals in city limits. So if he wanted to press charges against me, then Dad could press charges against him, and both would have a fine to pay. So Mr. B dropped all charges. As I look back on this incident, there's a scripture that comes to mind. James chapter 4 verse 2, "You do not have because you do not ask." Well, Mom asked and she received exactly what she asked for. We need to be decisive in our asking in order for our request to be acknowledged in the throne room of God. Thanks for watching.